Hello, everyone, and welcome to the world's most famous podcast. I'm your hostess, Jacqueline Maddison. We are joined today by Mike Pearson, who's a dynamic entrepreneur and leader behind 3 successful companies, which we'll learn more about. Mike's leadership expertise spans a wide range of industries, from manufacturing to environmental solutions, and he's on a mission to reshape how businesses approach leadership development. So in this conversation, we'll explore how he's building scalable systems, fostering innovation, and transforming corporate cultures. So let's dive in and learn from Mike's journey as a serial entrepreneur, business visionary, and coach. Let's welcome Mike to the show.
Hey, Jacqueline, how are you?
Hey, Mike. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let's not waste any time. Let's dive right in. Why don't
Awesome.
you, tell us what inspired you to pursue entrepreneurship and what was your first business venture?
What inspired me? Well, that's a loaded question, I guess. I'm actually rather new to entrepreneurship, and it was something I actually looked at as black magic for a long time. I've always loved systems. I've always been a go-getter. I've always done well, high performer, but I was in the military for 15 years. Got out of the military, joined a company called Protocase here in Nova Scotia, Canada. And they were the 2 owners that just inspired me, entrepreneurs that grew this business from, nothing to, we're now a 9-figure company. And I spent 10 years there and just got to be embedded around entrepreneurs all the time and met a couple of people on the way, and it just happened to you fall into it. So the first thing I did was started a company, waste management company, actually, with a partner of mine. And we're a couple of years into that, doing really, really well. And then
Congratulations. So that's
thank
so what is Protocase? And then I believe the name of the environmental company is MMP Environmental. So first, what
Yes,
is Protocase, and are you still involved with that company?
absolutely. So I'm actually the COO of Protocase. I've been there 10 years. So we're a company who works with manufacturing. We do, it's called HVMC, high velocity mass customization. So basically, we work with innovation and science, and we get them the stuff they need faster than anybody else in the world. So we help the race to space, all those things. That's what we do every day. Help engineering and science innovate. So all the biggest customers in the world out there, all the private space companies you think of, plus the public ones like NASA and all those, we work with them all. And so that's my day job, but it's also I love it. It's like it's also a passion.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds incredible. And so MMP Environmental Solutions, what is that, and what's your role there?
So it was really interesting. So this is where my partner Mike, he also worked at Protocase. We hired him, and he came in as doing some project management. And he's the guy who kind of looks at a P&L and says, what's available there that is being sourced out to someone else that he could do, or that he could create. So garbage is boring. Nobody cares about their garbage. Nobody looks at how much they're spending on their garbage. And so we took this as an opportunity. We have, our first customer was Protocase, and that we produce lots of garbage. We have 5 buildings. We have
Wow.
lots of employees. So we started there, and then we just been growing it. Now we're like the fastest growing, waste management company in the East Coast right now. So really, really, really cool.
Well, congratulations and Godspeed on continued growth. And you have a third venture, which I believe is called Frameworks Inc. Tell us about that.
So yeah, so Frameworks it's still in its infancy. Began learning the process as I go, and this one's I kind of believe in certain things that you love and that you want to do. Well, that was my piece in Protocases. I was there, and I realized very early on that we didn't have a formalized training program. It was kind of you teach the guy that came before you, and that's how things work. So as we started to get bigger, we were around 100 employees. We started getting up to 300, 400 employees. We were like, we really need something. And the one piece that I seen that was missing was the leadership side of it. And so I took that as a personal passion project that I built. inside the company with many others. But there was many days of sitting around the boardroom, during management meetings where I'd bring up leadership and what we were going to do with it. And that's when everyone kind of pulled out their phones and started checking their emails. It was, it was,
They checked out, turned their ears off. That's
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
Meantime, it's the most important when you have solid leadership infrastructure within an organization that large and with intention to grow globally. It's imperative. It's vital.
absolutely. And that's where kind of frameworks was born from. Eventually, is that I see that as all the people I follow amazing business leaders of the world. And I'm a big learner. I listen to podcasts continuously. I read constantly. It's what I love to do. And what I kept seeing is that leadership is the bottleneck in all companies. People think it's my marketing, it's my sales, it's my product development. Yeah, but it's probably the leadership. It's probably the people that are hitting the ceiling that are leading that.
Right.
So from that, I really started a group coaching session called Limitless. And I invited everybody volunteer from internally. We have over 100 leaders inside ProCase. So it started there. You guys are invited. It's obviously free of charge for them. And we started doing these weekly sessions, and I started getting lots of feedback. And then people in the community started asking, "Oh, hey, can I check that out?" I'm sure. So I invited people on, and then eventually I said, "You know what? This is kind of a thing. People like it, and I wonder what else I can do with this." And that's so here I am now, and I'm in the midst of growing that, and now people want to see more.
It sounds like a movement. But I think a lot of people are venturing into the entrepreneurial space to pursue their dreams and build their dream businesses. And so the leadership foundation, mindset, skill set is so important for them to have that knowledge. So that's great. What you're doing is really going to set a foundation for people to ensure their success in their business and I believe in their personal lives too, especially as men and leaders of the home. So, how do you define success as an entrepreneur for yourself? And has that definition evolved for you over time? Or what is it for you?
Yeah, you know what? It's talking about this a lot actually, and just recently in some of our sessions, and talking about I'm a goal getter. It's just nothing's ever good enough. Achieve one goal, move on to the next one, right?
Right.
And I recently read something. It was 10x is easier than 2x, I believe was the name of the book. Dan Sullivan and somebody else, and it was really really good because they talked about it was the gain and the gap, and the gain is that taking a look at what did I know yesterday, what did I not know yesterday I know today, and just taking that 2 seconds and going, wow, okay, cool, I achieved that. I didn't know that about sales yesterday. And instead of always staring at the horizon, and because you never reach it, as soon as you get to that peak, there's another peak there. So
Yeah.
I've definitely changed that way because I was just nothing's ever good enough, and
Right.
it's allowed me to calm down and enjoy the journey and become a better leader because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I truly believe success is a journey of really our self discovery and self development. And I saw a quote today that says, the things that we build us. So, and that's so true. And I thought about all the businesses I've built, and I'm like, wow, because it does. It develops our character and our drive and our perseverance and our courage and all of these things. So the journey is really what it's all about, not so much the destination. So we've got to focus less on that, of course. And like you said, you're in startup on frameworks, and that's the fun part. That's when challenges arise that are unexpected, and you have to pivot and think on your feet and make changes and adapt. Whereas once you've already grown the organization, now you're like, oh, okay, now I want to do something fresh and new, because that's the fun part, starting something from scratch and building it.
Yeah,
And
and
I think
it's
that's
really
what
interesting.
entrepreneurship is about.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's really interesting for me because I'm sitting, at one end of it, sitting as a COO, and I get to see, how a $100 million company runs that I'm sitting there looking after, and this big organization, lots of moving parts, and then now I'm at the other end of it where I'm scratching and clawing to get a customer and to market properly, and you don't have all those systems and teams in place.
Right.
It's really humbling,
Yeah.
but it's also gives a really really different perspective for what I do there all day long, And it also helps me because, I got that big picture and that detailed view to help guide along the way. So I know that every time, I'm scared because of what I'm about to do next. I'm like, okay, no, that means I'm going the right direction. That's the thing I need to do because I don't know it.
Right, exactly. We
Yeah.
learn as we go and we grow as we go. So it's important, you know, to take these leaps of faith into uncharted territories in business. I love
Yeah,
it. I love it.
me too. I was going to say kind of going back a little bit. There was one thing going like really far back on the people side of it. Although I'm, was always going, achieving goals and doing my thing, like it was always this side of me that just I love learning. I love teaching people what I learn. I guess my mom would have said when I was a kid, like, does he ever shut up? Because I was always talking and telling them what I knew. And it was a sign for the future, I guess. And,
Yeah.
I watched it was a Simon Sinek video from way back. I think he broke the internet with it. It was on millennials, and it's when that was a problem, for everybody. It was, oh, what are we going to do? And basically talked about how we have metrics for everything in the world, bottom line, top line, and everything in between. But how do we measure our people?
Mm.
And people don't measure their businesses don't measure their people well enough. And how do you measure your people? So I took that in us that was inside Protocase, and it took me a while, and with the help of a whole pile of people, we actually developed a people measuring system. We call it people metrics, and it's the first thing that we measure and the first thing we talk about in every meeting. And we say we manage by people, process, project, and that's kind of what led me on this way. So we're going to have these people metrics, and if you actually care about growing the company, which is growing new leaders, you got to be able to measure that and grow a great culture. So that's where this stemmed to, and now that's what's fun about this. As you said there a few minutes ago, like it's the exciting part. Like, yeah, like it's all the scariness of the business and learning the things I don't know, and there's you got to be an accountant and an HR person and an IT person all in one hour. But
It's true.
but when you get that person who sees you in public and goes, "Hey, Mike, I love that post. That was wicked. I started getting up earlier this week because of that." That's
Yeah.
that's where it really pays off.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
Yeah, absolutely. The impact of what we are contributing to the world. And, you mentioned going back to your childhood and some of the things you were displaying. And I think it's so true. People who haven't yet found their passion or their purpose, I always say, look to your childhood where your natural God-given gifts and talents were expressing themselves. That's where you're going to thrive, utilizing those talents and gifts that are inborn, and with respect to people metrics, what I found as one of the most important qualities within my team is loyalty. I think as a leader, if you can cultivate or develop relationships with your team, your tribe, your people, that ensures loyalty, because my team is so loyal and it's incredible. And for me, that loyalty, they're just like, they believe in the vision, the dream, and we build as a team, And so that loyalty factor, I think, is of utmost importance. And so I think when your team feels valued for their contribution, and for me as a woman leader, loved, perhaps I have that sort of motherly nurturing aspect with my team, it really helps.
Yeah, and and loyalty comes from it. Vulnerability, people knowing that you actually do have their best interests, which is,
Right.
it gets tougher the bigger you get further away from people.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, I want it to sound, from the big company side of it, I want it to people at every level should feel like exactly it's coming from my mouth. And I don't get to say it every single day, and I don't get to talk to them every day. But what I pass along is that our job as leaders, besides growing other leaders, is to give people hope even when there is none.
Right.
And I tell people that because it's what people do. When something happens, they turn around the room and they look for whoever that person is, whether it be informal or a formal leader. And when you have a good structure set up and a great set of leaders, good team, it allows people to go and innovate. And that's big thing for everything I do, is be able to have that psychological safety and freedom to go and just create new fun things because they know they're going to be looked after.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's a saying that oil drips down from the beard. So it's like, the culture and leadership at the top trickles down through the corporate tier or hierarchy, right? So like you said, even though by indirect leadership you can impact the HR, the other human resources within the company, but you have to make sure that that culture is developed throughout, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and the
So,
culture thing's interesting. Big on it. I'm a big values person. I'm a principles person. I'm not a rules person. I try to, I use technology now to even try to, AI and stuff to go in and dig into my all my chat GBT chats, everything else going on, and go, what are my values? Like, am I missing something? Because we really do live for those. Like, people rather be given the freedom of choice, and if they just have a set of guidelines to follow, it can be harder to manage,
right.
but it's easier to lead. Like, I think would be the way I would put that. So
Yeah, like people have to have a sense of autonomy, even though they may have a manager or supervisor to answer to. And in that way, they feel like they've been entrusted with their responsibility, and it gives them more motivation to do a better job, uh,
absolutely.
ideally. So, what are the most important qualities you look for when hiring leaders or team members for your businesses?
Ooh, it's it's I struggle with this constantly. I mean, I have I have these same things I run through my head, and I try not to, project myself,
That's good.
which again
Stay
is the
objective.
yeah, it is the objective. But I always say, like, I love energy. So somebody's got energy for me. It's an attraction. It's that transformational leader style that you can see there if someone just has that natural energy. And I always had my eyes, I see someone who's a bit of trouble, someone who causes grief. I'm like, well, that's leadership. Like, they're still, if we're hearing their name, and we know about them and they got energy, imagine if we could take that energy and turn it to good.
Right.
Is so that's something I've always looked at, first and foremost. But again, it's trust. Is a big one for me. I'm all about high performance. So I'm like don't be a victim. I don't live in victim land. You take all 10 fingers, point them back at yourself,
Right.
for everything that happens. And it's a lot of my questioning comes around that.
Mm.
And then it's people. Like, it's the hardest one for me to measure, is how good is someone going to be with the people. I feel like you can pick out the energy, you can pick out the high performers, you can pick out that, and then all of a sudden you don't see the secret adversity they have to conflict, or afraid to have a conversation, or those are the tough ones for me. So and we hire a lot of people, we're pretty successful at it, but again, that's where that leadership comes in. We like to Is someone trainable? Can we set expectations, and can they live up to them? And I think it's about setting expectations and putting it all up front. Because I'm also a little bit of a lot of a believer in, I believe in more everything is a skill, not an attribute. Like like you can learn anything, and yeah, we're born with a certain amount, but like, if someone's there was something I just watched on a podcast. He said, guy in the company was everyone said he's being a prick. They said, well, you have to define that. What does that mean? He said, well, he doesn't smile when he comes in the room, and he cuts people off when they're talking. Okay, cool. Well, that's two things I think we can teach them. So when you go sit down and have a conversation with someone, instead of coming out with that subjective blah, instead, hey, do you think when you walk in the room, you'd make people feel a lot better if you'd smile? And they might be like, well, that's weird. Well, it might be, but do you want to make people feel better? And do you think that you could not cut people off? So I always should have taken everything and break it down into skills. And if people can go string those skills together, that actually makes up all those attributes that we're lacking sometimes, because we don't have it all.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's an interesting strategy, but it makes perfect sense. I also think the intuitive factor, I've had to let people go because just instinctively I knew that their patterns were falling short, and they were only going to create more delays or problems, etc. So you have to have that intuition and be able to just discern that, one, the it factor, if that, oh, this is going to be a high performer or an asset to the team, and likewise if they're going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So how do you measure success in your ventures beyond financial outcomes?
Beyond financial, I mean, I think people, as I said, kind of on the gain and the gap type thing. I really like and I try to get people to build habits, and it's I don't want people to be perfect. Again, it goes around that skill thing. I do tons of challenges, and I have checklists, and I have whiteboards around my house that number of days in a row with it doesn't even matter. I do them all, but it's like, here's my 96-day fitness challenge, and I got to go to the gym, and I got to eat this much protein, and I got to blah blah blah, do all that. And I teach people to go, not perfection. Don't try to fill, it's a 30-day challenge. Don't try to nail 30 days, but 5 of the 7 days are pretty good. And, six the next week. And so I think people got to, set a standard, but don't be so serious that it's why, diets don't work, for example. So I think it's the same thing, in business, that I set a pile of goals for the week, and then I got to sit down and reflect daily. I do it, and I got to do it weekly. I plan my week out every Sunday. I kind of sit down and make a weekly schedule, knowing that it's probably I'm gonna lose a whole bunch of it. I try to
Right.
schedule in creative time and free time, so I'm available for people. And I get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to do all the things I need to do before I go to my other job, and then I come home and I finish it off. But that actually gives me energy. So um, yeah, that's it's kind of my own. Literally have a bunch of checklists. I do it, and I try to tell people to live that way, but don't get stuck in the perfection of trying to do it all, because they'll burn themselves out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about discipline, consistency, and systems.
Yeah,
And I think if you can master those three things, both in your business and in your personal life, you can create an infrastructure of your whole world to guarantee your success.
yeah,
For myself with systems in my business, it's almost robotic, but it's because it's so systemized, it's so organized and so effective. So
yeah.
if you can implement that, that's a pretty strong foundation for your company. So hence the name Frameworks. I love it. So how does Frameworks Inc., your new company, empower business owners to create scalable, value driven leadership systems that we're talking about?
Yeah, and that's it. And actually, you're speaking my love language when I talk systems, because that's
Yeah.
that's what I love to do, right? That's the scaling part of it.
Hmm.
And the inspiration of it, frameworks is a simply the logo is a triangle, and it's inspired by Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I basically looked at things and said, if I take, I could take a business structure and I can put into that. I can take a leadership structure and put into that. And I can take Maslow's and talk about, that's that same hierarchy of needs, and apply those same principles to it. And then within each level of that hierarchy, I build frameworks that I use every day to scale multiple departments within the company I've been part of. With ProCase last 10 years, I've worked in the R&D department. I ran sales, I ran marketing, I ran engineering. So, and going in there and being able to create these things, practice them, and knowing how the pieces fit together at the top, that is that whole scaling game that I love. So that's where the whole idea came from. And then so we turned it into one, the first thing was support, getting a bunch of business owners or their leaders, because my pitch to everyone is that if leadership is the bottleneck in every company, which I believe it is, then probably the best investment any business owners could be making is into their leaders, because they're only going to grow to the ceiling that it is. So that was the idea. So let's get in a group, let's chat, let's listen to some coaching, let's solve problem solving together. And that's where kind of the first layer of it started. And then of course from there it was, hey, can you come help me out at my business? Can you help me out here? So then I just take these frameworks that are, I've rolled out in different places, and I go in and I customize it to their business, because they're universal. I mean, it's team meetings, it's how to build a team up, it's how to, because a business, all it is just a giant set of teams. And if you can build one, you can build 100 of them. Doesn't
Right.
doesn't really matter. So that's where
Hmm.
it all came from.
Yeah, I know. And I think if more people realized how simple it is to simplify your business processes by just implementing systems, I mean, everybody would achieve far greater success. I think just a lot of people don't know yet how to create these basic systems that create a well-oiled machine that's organized, efficient, and effective.
Yeah, they think it's, complexity. It's something I've had to learn. I mean, I think I naturally got it, but also had to learn to say the words, is, like literally, like simplicity scales and complexity fails. Like it just
Oh, I
people
love
over,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
people
I,
overcomplicate things, and it's just, and but simple is not supposed to be simple. Is supposed to be easy, but simple is actually hard in business, because it's, again, like you said, it's the consistency and the discipline to go in and do the simple thing every day over and over and over, and it's
yeah,
not glorious
exactly.
and
It
it's
can
not fun.
feel monotonous. Forgive me for interrupting, but yes, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what do you think is the biggest mistake that businesses make when it comes to leadership development and or system implementation?
uh, from what I've seen, personally, and from, business owners that I've talked to, is that they think they can do it themselves,
Mm,
and they don't have the time and they don't have the expertise, because that's not where their energy is. They're trying to, if you're the product development person in a small brand new company, and you're building things, you don't. That's why half businesses fails, because they don't have time to be the accountant and time to be the salesperson at the same
right,
time too. So,
right.
it doesn't take long until you're into that. How 10 people, I think, is one of the magic numbers, that you hit that number of people and things are different. Your employees start looking at you different. You're not the same anymore. You used to be really close to us, and now you're. And so they don't recognize that early, and they still try to be the buddy, or the
Mm-hmm.
small group. So if they could realize that early and put the leadership in, and start teaching it, and it's all it is, it's teaching teach your own values, what your own style of leadership is. And if the person or the people that you have, if that resonates with them, well, they'll stay. And if it doesn't, well, you don't have the right person. So, it's
Right.
the I think it's a good indication early, because everybody's a leader. Doesn't matter what their role is. It's individuals' personal leadership. So I think if people did that, earlier. I don't think people give themselves enough credit either, when it comes to what they can do with their business. They settle, because they have these problems, and they think it's them, and they think that my business just can't scale because of this. Any business can scale.
Mm,
Anything, like scaling, I think, is actually really easy. They're blaming it on scaling, but it's really the the ceiling that they and or their teams are hitting, because of the not knowing what to do next.
right. Yeah, and I think a lot of leaders or entrepreneurs wing it, and they don't sort of plan what they're going to implement. And what's that saying? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So
Yeah,
you have to have
absolutely.
a clear, like an architectural design, you have to have a clear plan of what you intend to build, the systems you want to implement, and then you build it. Um, so how do you customize your leadership coaching to meet the needs of different companies and industries?
So, like I said, there's kind of a base model for everything, that I've found certain things work, and again, certain things are going to work and not work, and depending on. But it's a listening game. It's sitting down, having a conversation with somebody. Um, you know, is it, what areas are they having the biggest struggles in? Is it typically what I see? Conflict, HR related issues seems to be the biggest start,
Yep.
with people. They don't know how to deal with conflict. It's, how do I got a problem person. People don't want to fire people, because if I fire them, I don't have that person, and they don't
Fear.
realize,
Fear of
yeah, that's
change. Yeah.
it's crippling it's crippling their business, or crippling their team, within their business. So, picking out what actually is their pain makes it a lot easier, because usually it's not a global problem. Usually it's a one area of pain,
Mhm.
and I start with that. And then, of course, once you start on one, you start, peeling back the layers of the onion, and you find more and more areas that you can help out in. And, it's just endless, because, again, as we said earlier, there's no destination to reach. That's, like, this is an infinite game. So, as long as people want to keep growing, and you're never going to reach that. And I always tell people I'm gonna continue to learn at a rate that's faster than all of you, because I'm going to put all my energy into it so that you don't have to. And I will help you implement the systems and learn what you need to know so that you don't need to go and try to learn everything on top of running your amazing business, whatever it is that you're trying to do right now. So that's the point of view I come from.
Yeah, I love that. Owning a company or managing a company as CEO or COO, it's like a wild ride, right? And until you exit the company and you're no longer a part of it, it's the experience of building it, changing, pivoting, rolling with the punches, economic changes, etc. So yeah, you have to be prepared for the unexpected. But again,
Yeah.
that's why I love entrepreneurship, because um, you have to have perseverance, and you have to just be ready to take on any challenge as it arises.
Absolutely.
So how does frameworks help companies bridge the gap between their leadership and expected results? Because a lot of times people have high hopes, and so where does frameworks
So the biggest
get
problem
involved?
that,
Yeah.
yeah, it's well, what it comes down to it is I can't guarantee anything. The whole point behind it is that um, there's a decision to be made, and every single, a business owner or a, executive, someone company can make a decision, say, hey, yeah, you know what, love your help, and can come in and do this. And the first thing we could talk about is say, I can, it's literally the like lead the horse to water. But people got to make the decision, and I can help with the accountability, and I can help. And it's a reason why I have limitless coaching sessions, because if I go in and help a company, they can join limitless as well. And though they get limitless with the program for free. And now they're on there weekly, they can go on and ask questions, and we get on there. I can keep them accountable, give them lots of high fives when they need the high fives.
Right.
People don't, it's actually what I did today with our leadership group is we did a session on reflection, and we talked about the things they've achieved over the last 3 months, and tell me something you were really bad at that you feel a little better at. And again, when people don't sit down again and realize what they're doing. So it's accountability in a way. Like, people think of accountability as you must, or a negative thing sometimes, and accountability is a high five and a hey, look how far you've come. So
Yeah.
that's the advantage of me not being in the business and not being the COO of their business. I'm there literally just to help their people succeed, and the only way they can measure that is them seeing the results. And we're going to meet and say, hey, I don't feel like we're getting results, perhaps. And I say, okay, well, that's really good, because I've been letting you know that so and so hasn't shown up, or so and so is not doing the work, or so and so. So and then it becomes up to them to make a business decision again, if that's the right leader for the role. Um, Majority of the time, I'd say I'd probably, you're about starts out high, 80-90% are there, and they're all in and they're willing to do it. That drops off to 50 or 40%. And you got your 30-20% that really want to really go and see things through. So, and I think it's probably true in every company. So business leaders got to really look at that and go, make it the norm, make it the standard. And that's how you build that high performance company, where it's not just it's this thing that we kind of do sometimes. No, it's the thing that we do, and
Right.
that is our culture. So that's what I help them do.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So it's executive business coaching, correct? Or is it leadership coaching? What's the term for what it is
You,
that you do through
you
frameworks?
know what? And it's so from a entrepreneur point of view, probably the biggest thing to do is to say it's for everyone. But it's executive and it's bottom up. I'm pitching to a business leader that says, an owner that says, that I want to say, hey, you got to invest into your leaders, and I will help do that on your behalf. And I'm pitching to leaders to say, hey, owners, go talk to your owners, go talk to your bosses, go say, hey, like, I think this could really help our team, this could grow us. So it is a little bit from both, and but it's more to help leaders learn to grow other leaders, run the system that run the system that runs the system.
Hmm.
And if that takes, and I do have the option for the executive one-on-one coaching, and then sometimes there's the people at the top that want that. They go, oh, I like the glimpse of this. And it's kind of how it happened for me, and I just kept escalating the level of leadership that I wanted. And I paid for lots of it. I go in and I get coaching from all kinds of different mentors out there. And then I start to see the same thing coming back because I save them the time and money from doing it.
Yeah, well, I think the best teachers are the best learners. Now, how do people get involved? And I love the limitless concept. The sky is the limit when really you take control over your company in your companies by effective leadership, not only of yourself, but also your team leaders, and implement these systems and processes and programs and cultures. I mean, it's limitless. Your company can grow to heights of success you can only dream of. So how do they get in touch with you? How do they sign up? And I imagine also even for a startup entrepreneur who wants to start on the right track, I'm sure they can work with you as well.
Absolutely. And that's the idea is I try to make this accessible from, the brand new company of one, trying to figure it all out, to, corporation who maybe just has the old school binder that shows up in the mail with the training manual in it and the PD
Right.
days
Oh, no, not the binder training manual,
yeah,
please.
exactly. And the PD days that everybody hates, but at least it's the check in the box. So
Right.
got a solution for all those. And for anybody who wants to check us out, frameworksinc.ca. All kinds of information in there for people. Reach out to us, sign up for our blogs, and also follow us on social at Frameworks Inc. on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Frameworks Incorporated. And there's a billion ways to reach out to us. We'll get back to you. You can DM us, message us, and we're excited to help people.
Okay, fantastic. Before we go, how do you balance your work and life? Because with so much on your plate professionally, how do you encourage and inspire others to maintain balance themselves? What do you suggest, and what do you do?
So for me, it's funny. I always kind of crapped on the balance side of it, because I don't think there needs to be that level of balance. I think people just got to do what's happy for them. If your comfort level is, literally, if your comfort level is sit on the couch and watch Netflix for 12 hours, then do you and be happy because it's all choice. But just realize, people like comfort, people don't like hard. And those that do hard makes it really, really easy for them because everyone else is sitting on the couch watching Netflix. So,
well, and I say, your dream life is just outside your comfort zone. So if you're going to stay in your comfort zone, don't be surprised when your dreams don't come true.
Yeah, you nailed it.
There's a saying that says some say hell is the day that the person you became meets the person you could have become. Whoa, because it's so true. We all have so much potential, and if we just apply ourselves, implement systems, processes, discipline, perseverance, courage, etc., we can be limitless in what we achieve in our lives.
Absolutely.
We got to go for it and make it happen. So before we wrap it up, Mike, it's been such an honor. Is there anything you want to end on? Make sure that our listeners know about you. What do you got?
I put her social out there. All I want people to realize is that, for business owners, if that's you, listen to this. Doesn't matter if you're a first day business owner or day 500. You got to make the investment in your leadership, and it is an investment because it will pay 10x returns. Absolutely will. Seen it over and over again. And if you're a leader that hears this and goes, I resonate with that and I want to be a high performer, well then, talk to us and we'll help you talk to your ownership, leadership, and how maybe we can help them invest in you, because that's what we love to do it. They don't have the time and energy or expertise to do it, and we exist just to do that for them.
I love it. Well, Frameworks is where it's at. So, Mike, again, it's been an honor and a pleasure. I wish you endless success in all your ventures and many more to come.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
Have a blessed day. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.